The Sunday school lesson for April 7th, 2024 is Helping a Friend in Need. Luke chapter 5, verses 17 through 26. To the viewers and subscribers, welcome and welcome back to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school lesson, you are at the right place because I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary. Let's begin. The backstory takes us to Luke chapter 5, verses 12 through 16. Jesus heals a man with leprosy. While Jesus was in one of the towns, a man came along who was covered with leprosy. When he saw Jesus, he fell with his face to the ground and begged him, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." And immediately the leprosy left him. Then Jesus ordered him, "Don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. The backstory ends, and today's lesson begins with the next frame. Verse 17. One day Jesus was teaching, and Pharisees and teachers of the law were sitting there. They had come from every village of Galilee and from Judea and Jerusalem. And the power of the Lord was with Jesus to heal the sick. Verses 18 through 19. Some men came carrying a paralyzed man on a mat and tried to take him into the house to lay him before Jesus. When they could not find a way to do this because of the crowd, they went up on the roof and lowered him on his mat through the tiles into the middle of the crowd, right in front of Jesus. Verses 20 through 21. When Jesus saw their faith, he said, "Friend, your sins are forgiven." The Pharisees and the teachers of the law began thinking to themselves, "Who is this fellow who speaks blasphemy? Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Verses 22 through 23. Jesus knew what they were thinking and asked, "Why are you thinking these things in your hearts? Which is easier, to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'?" Verses 24 through 25. But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. So he said to the paralyzed man, "I tell you, get up, take your mat, and go home." Immediately he stood up in front of them, took what he had been lying on, and went home praising God. Verse 26. Everyone was amazed and gave praise to God. They were filled with awe and said, "We have seen remarkable things today." A very brief summary. Following the call of Jesus' disciples, Luke showed a bit more of their ministry together. The first illustration featured a man covered with leprosy. According to Jewish law, anyone coming into contact with such a person would be ceremonially unclean. Yet Jesus touched those whom others avoided, placing people above religious ceremony. The next account of power and compassion, but even more. In healing a paralyzed man, Jesus demonstrated that he was not a mere prophet. He could forgive sins. authority granted to God alone. But such a claim increased the opposition from religious leaders. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Join me soon for the next backstory and more. Stay safe and may God bless.